Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Veiled Cottage Witch. I'm Joey, your Veiled Cottage Witch, and today we have a very special guest. Special guest, would you like to introduce yourself and tell the people how we know each other?
I'm Nichole. I be the wife of the witch. And I met this lovely lady on the internet, free dating app called Twitter, now X, through our favorite show, Supernatural. And
Supernatural rules.
so it just kind of morphed into this thing and became this long distance relationship for a couple of years. And
long years. Long and lonely years. Yes.
And then this lovely lady decided to take a leap and move from Missouri to Arizona.
Big leap.
Big leap. And we were married in 2017, and it's been 6.5 years.
Yeah. Can you believe it? I can't believe you haven't tossed me out on my ass, but I'm chucking that off to fate and destiny. So I brought my wife on here today to kind of get an outsider looking in kind of viewpoint on magic, witchcraft, and spirituality in general. So I'm going to start it off with, what's it like to be married to a witch? How is it different than, being with a muggle, for lack of a better term?
Well, more interesting and colorful.
Yay.
Yeah. That's about it, really. It's just interesting.
It's just colorful.
More colorful. I mean, we get lost in the mundane a lot and wrapped up in a lot of the social stressors and things like that. And so it makes it a little more fun, a little more colorful. Some people find that, in their own practices, but in this one, compared to most, definitely more colorful.
Well, and it's an everyday instead of like once a week kind of spirituality, and like you said, we live in it. And I like to wrap magic in the mundane, and so every opportunity is an opportunity for magic. So I'm glad that has rubbed off on you. I'm glad. Do you notice a difference in me as, before I came back out of the broom closet to now? Do you notice a difference in me? Like,
I do. You're again, those stressors of life in the mundane, they can weigh you down. And I've noticed with you that you're a little more freer, a little bit happier, able to let a lot of those stressors and things go. If we were to look at something that's measurable. But a lot happier in your day to day.
That's so true. It's so true. A lot of people think that you only have one spiritual awakening in your life, and I think that's so untrue. I think we go through cycles and ups and downs, just like a roller coaster. That's life. And for the 10 years before I met this woman, I was in the midst of a very severe depression because I didn't have my practice. I mean, I didn't have meditation. I didn't have a community to celebrate with. I was very alone. So in coming out here, I feel like I'm open to a lot more opportunities now. As compared to Missouri. They're a little
Midwest versus West Coast. A little freer out
I'm
there.
not gonna say that
I will.
backwoods, but yeah.
Midwest.
Yeah. Maybe not backwoods, midwoods. But either way, there's woods. We get mountain landscapes here in Arizona. All we saw in Missouri was trees, and there's so much woods, and I feel like it's a lot more open as far as like the scenery is even more open, where, woods seem to be a little claustrophobic sometimes. This is just a lot more open.
It's a good metaphor.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm really good at those. As you know. All right. So, things you enjoy most, or what benefits do you enjoy from this spiritual practice that I have just lulled you in?
It's entertaining. I learn a lot of stuff every day. I let her do the hard work of learning, and she just passes it on to me.
That's like, you read that book and you tell me what I need to know.
Exactly.
And
you know who I am. You just tell me what affects me. I'm good. a lot more knowledge, just by seeing and being around it.
Oh, good. Yeah. Good. It's almost like osmosis,
Can't get me to read the book, so you'll just tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. We all learn differently, and I'm pretty big on scholarly learning. Some people watch YouTube to learn. I mean, I learn from YouTube too, but I always have to back it up with more research. I'm total nerd scholar. I can't even tell you where I'm at in my reading career. I am not done. And I think, I will continue as long as I can keep retaining that information. I'm going to keep reading. I guess it's better than taking other people's words for it, or TikTok. No shaming TikTok, but it's for entertainment. It's not really for learning that much. I mean, if you learn something in TikTok, great. But I think you should still do more research, all that nerdy stuff.
Back up your sources.
Back up your sources, exactly. So talk about your spiritual journey, from younger to teenager to adult. What was your spirituality like?
Well, most people are born into what their parents or relatives or, come into. And my earliest memory was going to a church on the military base, because my dad was in the Army. And this was in the 70s and 80s. It's my earliest memory, but I don't remember much about what we did. And we just stopped going. And then one day, me and a friend from across the street decided we were going to go try out churches.
You're auditioning them.
We did. Literally, there were quite a few around our neighborhood. So we went to one of the newer Baptist churches, went to a Methodist church, went a couple times, didn't like it, went to the next one and the next one. And then we found a Lutheran church. And we really liked it. I mean, the people were so nice, and the donuts every morning were... at 10 years old, we're like, oh, these people have donuts. This is the church to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So we ran home to my dad and said, hey, we found this church. We really like it. And so my family decided to come and check it out. And they really, really liked it. My dad was more religious than my mom, and he enjoyed it and did that church, up until after I was out of high school.
So how was it different than the other, the Baptist,
right,
the Methodist? What lured you in?
Besides the donuts.
Yes, let's not forget the donuts.
It was smaller. It wasn't a large church. The new Baptist church was huge, had all these almost 700 Club on TV. Almost like a big auditorium, where this one had a little bit smaller chapel-like feel. And people just nice, welcoming, kind people. Oh. Not that anybody at the other churches were unkind. Right. It was just, there was something about that community that was comforting.
Yeah.
And so ended up pretty much describing myself as mostly Lutheran. Had a friend who went to a Baptist church, and we're talking a little bit like Southern Baptist. People would fall in the aisles and speak in tongues, and it scared the bejesus out of me. Here's this quiet Lutheran church, where we service in prayer and silence and softness, and huge gospel is like total opposite. And so that one was interesting. I had a Mormon friend, got to go to the Mormon church in our area. Wonderful, friendly community. A lot of good positive things about it. But not my following. Too strict for me.
It is pretty strict.
But the community and how the communities rally and take care of each other and the children. It's like, okay, I ain't having 7 kids, but it's not just the 2 parents raising the 7 kids. It's others in the community.
It takes a village.
Yes. And so there's a lot to say about that one. But for the most part, I mean, my son went to a Methodist preschool, much like the Lutheran church that I found, when I was a kid. So good, kind people, But that's where I just ended up like, it doesn't matter. As an adult, a single parent even, finding the time to go to church was near impossible. So in my mind, I developed my own spirituality that I don't have to go to church to believe. I don't have to go to church to practice. I just have to be truthful, understanding, and within myself.
I love that.
Yeah, made my body my church, myself my church.
Which it is.
Right.
Absolutely.
So that's where I came, for a long story short. But from where I started to where I am today is a big, big difference. It's not in the practices out in the community. It's the practice within myself.
I love that. I'm big on empowerment. When I teach my classes, I'm always teaching empowerment. I'm always trying to, have people pay attention to themselves, mind, body, and spirit, because this is what really matters, is tending that flame inside. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great answer. Great answer.
Long one.
That was a really good one. All right.
It's a journey.
It is a journey. So talking about the community and kind of segueing into my next question, you have led and helped create some of our Sabbats for our rituals in our community. What is that like? Can you talk about that? Is it fun? Is it a chore? You can.
It's work, like any other event. I've always loved putting on events, putting on things. From as early as I can remember, myself and my best friend, we would put on shows for the family. We would, practice and rehearse and do all those things. Birthday parties, when you got kids, you're planning that event for each one year after year after year. And, in my professional career at my office, I ended up being the event planner for all of that, and including the Christmas parties and stuff. So I'm really good.
You are really good
planning events. And now we have several here at home, and really easy to plan, fun to do. I love cooking for people, so that's always nice. And it's a way of getting community to you. We're pretty lucky to live on an acre of property and have the room to invite those individuals over and make something special for everyone to participate in and have community.
I love that. My heart just grew like the Grinch's just now. It just is like, boom.
I bring the community to me now. I don't go to the community.
You're such a hearth and home kind of person. And so it really helps to cross over. It's like you're already wearing that hat. Might as well, serve others. And, I know she makes a lot of elaborate meals just for the 2 of us. And so to take that and kind of expand on it, y'all are lucky they get to come to our Sabbath. Y'all are lucky. Yeah. All this and she can cook is what I say. I like that. All right. So what is here we go. We're going to get controversial. What is your take on the debate of organized religion versus paganism? Can you talk about that?
Neither one is wrong.
Neither one is wrong. Okay.
Neither one is wrong. Neither one is exclusively right. You can have an organized religion, be kind, considerate, respectful of others. Can be the same with paganism. Maybe there's a little more freedom in paganism because there's not anything specific. If you take a lot of the Christianity and Christian organized religions, they're of one mind, of one body. They're one God. Versus paganism, where there's a lot of gods, a lot of deities, if you want.
Monotheism versus polytheism.
Sure. Yeah. We wouldn't have the Greek and Roman and Norse and Celtic histories where there are many gods versus one. So, again, none of them are right, none of them are wrong exclusively.
Right.
We as human beings evolve and learn new things. And, I could go on about how, you can have one God and you can believe that one God, but is it out there or is it in here?
Right.
Inside. Who's the God? Where's the God? The one God. And I don't criticize and I don't judge the other religions because I have tried them. Mm-hmm. There are wonderful things about them, but you can't use them in, I hesitate to say negative way because that goes into the values and ethics, but it's about being kind. It's about being, the depths of a human being and not humanity that pushes not necessarily religion, but beliefs on others. And it's very personal. I will say that it's very, very personal. So you can't say one or the other is right or wrong, but you practice what is true that you believe in. So you can't.
Even if it's spaghetti.
Even if it's spaghetti, and you may not agree with your neighbor, but respect it. Now, I hesitate for some of the fundamentalist and fanatical religions, but it's a different story. At the heart, most of the organized religions are about love, and that's something that's pure. We as humans could.
And that spans the whole spectrum of religion and spirituality. Now, you told me, and I hope you remember what I'm talking about, you did tell me that you learned something from your evolutionary psychology class, or several things, but about belief. Can you talk about that?
So, in my evolutionary psychology class, one of the wonderful things that I learned that out of that entire thick book, something stuck out and really strung a chord that I remember to this day. And that we as human beings don't have to be pagan. We don't have to be Christian. We don't have to be anything. We just have to have a belief system. That's it. I think there was 5 different basic things that a human being needs to grow and evolve. Food, water, shelter, community, and I think spirituality. And whatever that is, whether you believe in moon gods or sun gods or the one true God, you just have to have a belief system because we cannot grow without hope or something to strive for. And whatever that higher power is, we're going to grow, we're going to evolve as long as we have it. But it does not tell you which one to have, only that you have it. So
I love that.
It was interesting.
I very wholeheartedly believe that. Absolutely. That, people ask me all the time, well, what books should I read to start in witchcraft? And I ask them, well, what are you interested in? What about witchcraft? Is it crystals? Is it herbalism? Is it meditation? What is it that you want to learn? And it takes people a long time to get to that point to where they're like, oh, this is the path I want, not this. And so I can't spoon feed people because it's so unique. And, some might see a amethyst crystal and be like, oh my gosh, this is going to heal me. And one could just say, it's a rock.
It's a rock.
It's a rock.
Well, and it's not necessarily, even if somebody asks, well, I want to practice witchcraft or do this or do that. You talked about chakras the other day, all the colors. Most of these religions have similar bases, similar things in common.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody wants to find their own spirituality, read the Bible, read the Quran, read the Hindu practices,
Kabbalah.
Japanese, Kabbalah, Buddhism. Just read everything you know, and the things that speak to you can become yours. And you don't have to say, well, I'm pagan, or I'm Muslim, or I'm this, or I'm that,
or a crystal witch, or a herbal witch. I hate
it's just a label.
I hate it.
And in my world, with my values and ethics,
mm-hmm.
as long as it serves you and does not harm you or others, then that's where you are. We're all individuals. We can conform
mm-hmm.
to organized religion and pick one that we like the best. But why not take the best of everything to make yourself the best?
I've been studying chaos magic lately, and I really am grabbing onto it, because it's the belief that I will light this candle and feel better. It is belief that I'm going to cast this Harry Potter spell straight out of the book, and it's going to work for me. And, it's that belief. That is the key to chaos magic, is your belief in it makes the magic happen.
Or the belief in your God or your deity.
Right.
You can pray to get better. And that will bring that healing energy in, because that's where you are. That's your belief. That is your practice, and it serves you. So.
Right. Absolutely. And you have to follow it up, act in accord. I think a lot of people, in my opinion, when I would see people go to church, they would come home and still yell at their kids and drink and cuss. But then they'd go to confession and all is good. I went to confession, so I'm absolved. And I don't think it's like that. I don't think it should be like that.
An excuse to continue behaving badly.
Right. But I think a lot of paganism is about responsibility and responsibility for yourself and how you present yourself to the world. So, yeah, awesome. All right, we're going to keep up with the controversial questions because I love it. So, what is your take on karma and baneful or defensive magic, ethic-wise and stuff? Do you feel like? How do you feel about those scales?
It's funny with karma, because you can go back to, a little bit of Christianity there, not to judge, not to harm others, that it's not up to us. It's up to God or, whomever to judge. And so that's a piece of it on karma. It just depends on where that karma happens. Does that karma happen, when you die, maybe going to heaven or hell? Or is that karma immediate? The guy walks by and I'll just make something up, but, maybe, kick some dirt on a homeless person while they're walking by, and then 2 blocks down the road, they trip and land in a water puddle or something.
My mother used to say, this is so funny because I would backtalk, and then I would backtalk my mother all the time. And I would backtalk, and then I would try to run out of the situation, and I always tripped and fell. And she said, see, God get you.
God'll get you. So I think, again, it's kind of where the belief system is. That person probably would have not even thought about karma. Probably just would have been all like, damn, I tripped and fell and now I'm soaking wet. And not correlating at all with the fact that, you just spit on another human being. So
Again, self-responsibility, right?
So, I mean, some might just think it's coincidence. Some might call it karma. Baneful magic, similar. How much energy are you putting into it, and how much of it are you going to see is, oh, well, that's because I cast a spell on you, or I did this magic to make this happen.
As we drink our tea.
So a couple of years ago, I work in HR, and we had an employee that was very disrespectful. Don't know what their problem was. I could assume a number of reasons why. None of them very nice things, but it was getting pretty bad. It was so bad that, I was escalating it up to senior officials that have the power to say, hey, you're being disrespectful, because I wasn't their supervisor. So I had to go to their supervisor and tell them all the problems.
So you did the mundane work first.
I did what, the handbook says. And, at some point I was just the last straw. And this one here is like, oh, I have something for that.
I was studying petitions. Now, petitions are usually like these long, they can be long, but they're basically a prayer that you send out. And I tend to either bury or burn them. But you can also
do what I did. I was just like, okay. So she's like, well, write their name here on this piece of toilet paper. So my brain was like, okay. So I write their name on the toilet paper, and I go in the bathroom and I flush it down the toilet.
I love like you blame me for this. I love
know.
That.
You started it. I finished it, but you started it.
I think you did not let me finish my lesson.
Of course not. It's the end. But I did it. I own up to it. And 6 weeks later, this individual's contract was not renewed. And so that person was no longer a problem. Hopefully they went on to better things, but it wasn't my problem anymore.
Not my circus, not my monkeys anymore.
No more, but kind of got a kick out of that one. Maybe I shouldn't flush them down the toilet. And I mean, I could have burned him and he got fired, but
That's good. Yeah.
Like bedtime
correspondences. Exactly.
But no, instead he just washed out of my life.
You got to do that every once in a while. You got to purge, right? And I'm sure he wasn't making your job any easier.
No.
And I'm sure that,
But the question is, did I do it? Did the universe do it?
I didn't do it.
She didn't do it.
I'm washing my hands of that.
But that's the big question. Some say, well, all you did was flush some toilet paper in the toilet, and wrote something on it.
I mean, you could have done worse.
But that's all I did. I could have just set it on the thing and used the bathroom and it went down the toilet another way. But it's what you believe. Do I believe that helped? It's nice to think so.
You feel powerful.
Right. Well, and if that, what do I want to call it? If that work right there, what I did helped it along, I'm not going to say it didn't.
Right. And
or
you
did.
And you'd do it again.
And I'd probably do it again. But when things go your way,
watch for the stinger.
Well, things go your way, it's easy to say, yeah, it's because I did it. I wanted it. I willed it. I put it out there.
Right.
Where, the skeptic's going to be like, dude, it was toilet paper. It was going to go down the toilet anyway. All you did was put, was it a pencil or an ink pen? But all you did is put some ink on it.
Right.
What does it mean? Which brings back to what it means to you.
Right. And you know, I tell a lot of people, if spells don't work for you, it wasn't meant to be. You know, if he was a good person and you just had your own qualms against him, maybe not. But the fact that he'd become a problem to the whole company, it was kind of just the nudge the universe needed to say, okay, I see what's going on here. Let's take care of this imbalance. I
Or
think
nothing
yeah.
could have happened. He could still be an employee.
Right.
Then you'd be like, well, that didn't work.
Right.
So, again, causation, correlation, that madness.
I want to say that we're going to have to talk a little bit louder because my mic just died. So,
all right.
So what is your take on the afterlife and reincarnation, heaven, hell? What do you believe?
Well, I believe anything is possible. Just because spirituality is so unique. What you believe in is so unique. You have billions of people around the world, and not everybody believes the same thing. Heaven and hell, it's possible. Do I want to go to heaven or hell? I don't know. I don't see what's on the other side. I have not seen what's on the other side. And what one person sees on the other side and another person sees could be two completely different things. So whatever that afterlife is, whether it's I'm going to be reincarnated, or I'm going to go to heaven or hell, or I'm going to go to Valhalla, it's whatever you believe.
So true.
Part of me is just like, well, when we go to sleep, we just don't exist in our mind because our brains have shut down. Our body is in this restful state. And once our physical body is gone, we could continue in that restful state.
Absolutely.
I don't know where the soul goes. I don't know what's next in the afterlife or rebirth. But I won't answer for somebody else. And my answer is, I don't know. Anything's possible. Who knows where I'll go?
Possible. I agree with that because I believe that everybody has their own universe. And it's really strange belief, but it's like everybody has their own universe. So like the color green in their universe might be different than the color green in other people's. So I'm just using color as an example. But some people could see the sky as green and the grass is blue. And I think it's possible because, color is really how we perceive. It doesn't really exist. We gave it a name. It doesn't really exist. And I love to blow people's mind with that kind of science. But, all right, moving on. Do you have any pet peeves about paganism and we'll just say New Age spirituality in general? And I know you might have a few, but what's your big pet peeve that you just can't stand hearing about or that makes you angry?
Cults and fundamentalist religion. Those are the hardest ones. A lot of people don't understand or recognize what a cult is. Some might think Catholicism is a cult. I mean, it has all of the earmarkers that psychologists will say that's a cult. No, it's not a cult. It's an organized religion. But, the ones that we'll say harm themselves or harm others certainly are my biggest pet peeve. And again, you come back to this judgment. If they truly believe and wish to continue following without something inside them to say this is wrong, in their own values, in their own ethics, they're not going to see it. They're going to see it as this is that higher power. This is that higher spirituality that I'm looking for. Some of the ones that bother me, some of the newer ones.
Sorry about that.
All right, picking up on pet peeves. Oh yes, cults. And some of the newer ones. Okay. So one of the newer ones that I kind of have an issue with is this whole twin flame thing. She gets a lot of questions, especially with tarot reads or things like that, where it's like, I love this person, they're my twin flame, blah, 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 blah. And I don't think they know what a twin flame is. They like the idea of what it is and not what the cult is. And thanks to Netflix and their continuing series of cults, that one bothered me a lot, because
Well,
you
it's
have
codependency at its finest, I guess, or at its worst.
right at its worst, codependency. But also, here we have another person and said spouse that made something up and needed followers, and these people that are starting to follow them are giving them money. And it's starting to look a lot like the FLDS. You're putting all this money to this couple, and they're in a huge house, and they're driving Lamborghinis and these fancy cars, and the people that they're following continue to give them money and live in poverty.
All to have a codependent relationship.
Right. And they believe that this guy and his spouse have this divine energy to be able to say, that's your twin flame, that's the other half of you, that's the other half of your soul. And it bothers me, because there is nobody on this planet, and I don't care how divine they think they are, that should tell you, you're going to be masculine, you're going to be feminine. That's your twin flame, because there's not enough men in our religion. It's mostly women. So now we've got to invent this masculine and feminine and exploit it, which in turns the trans community suffers, because now it's being exploited as this spiritual religion and not a personal choice.
Right, which it absolutely should be, and nobody should tell you. I mean, that's like going back to arranged marriages and stuff. And yeah, I feel like we have come so far that now we're like trying to go back and relearn some lessons, and we're getting a lot of things wrong. I feel, I can't take the twin flame thing seriously, because I've had people, say to me, he is awful to me, or he beats me, or he cheats on me, but he is my twin flame, and I can't help that person.
No, because they truly believe it, and no matter how toxic it is, they're staying there because they believe it's the right thing to do, that it's the spiritual thing to do. And unfortunately, those maybe that don't believe in the twin flame, like yourself and I, would be like, oh, well, that's just abuse, walk away. Well, they have to recognize that it's abuse.
Absolutely.
Before they can walk away. And, which puts us in, there's a lot of the FLDS people are leaving the religion, especially with Jeff behind bars, but another situation where these communities live in poverty because all their money belongs to the church. Every penny they make belongs to the church, and their entire paychecks go to the church. The church owns the banks where your money is, so you can't even get it for yourself because it belongs to the church.
Yeah.
And nothing should be that bad, and FLDS has been around a lot longer than twin flames, and there's families born into this that know no other way, and they're afraid. They can't leave. They don't know any different, and a lot of the older members are like, this is my life. Right. I have nothing without this in my life, because it's all they know.
They're putting all their power in someone else instead of
and they
themselves.
don't know any different. So in some cases, especially if you're born into something,
sure,
that's reality for you, is this religion. That anything out there is bad, it's evil, and all the people on the outside looking in are like, that's bad, that's evil. How can you call this the will of God when everything else outside of that community and religion or cult are trying to say, no, that's wrong.
Yeah. I
So-
mean, only you can say what's wrong or right for you.
They have to want to go. They have to
Yeah.
understand for themselves and choose something different. If I were to meet someone in the FLDS, if they wanted to stay there and that's all they knew, my answer would be, okay, here's my number. Call me if you need anything. And that's all we can do for them.
Yeah.
We can't tell them to be something other than what they have been conditioned their entire lives to be.
Yeah.
And I think we're all at heart looking for something bigger, some higher power, that belief that we need for ourselves. And some of us are so desperate for it that we'll pick something that may or may not be recognizable as, I won't say wrong, but abusive or toxic to the human soul. But yeah, that's, if we were going to talk about peeves about spirituality, it's some of these cultish beliefs. I mean, there's a
Dogma should not be anywhere near paganism. And I have found personally, you know, I've left a few Facebook groups because of dogma, and I'm like, I thought I got out of the Christian faith to get away from the dogma. Why is there still dogma? Stop telling me what to do.
There's going to be all of it. Whether you call it a religion, whether it's called a cult, whatever it is that your belief system is trying to follow.
Right.
It's very unique. I mean, there's a religion out there, Asian community, where they arm themselves. They go to church with their AKs and their ARs, and they believe that it's a battle, it's a war for, you know, to protect themselves.
Literal soldiers.
And they have giant, huge communities. Again, arranged marriages. It's saying, okay, you're going to marry this person, that person. They get in a huge auditorium and have one giant ceremony, and you're married to that person next to you. You didn't choose them, but it's the choice to continue that, I guess, organization to prepare for the battle for God.
Right. Right.
So
it's a choice.
It's scary to think that, you know, that armament in a large community, you know, who's to say one day they don't decide that now is the time, now we go to war.
That's
innocent
scary.
people are killed, but they believe that they're fighting for God, just like, you know, a lot of the Islamic, you know, they're doing what they do, and they're going to go to heaven because they're fighting for their faith. So I can't judge one way or the other, but it is a little scary. Because,
it is a little scary out there.
You know, look at the Crusades. You know, whole
Let's
wars.
not.
Well, it's still here. It's not back in the Middle Ages. It's still here. People fighting for their faith, their God, and you know, what their responsibility is to it. Nobody's going to all agree, ever. You know, most wars are fought for religions. So.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so...
it's powerful.
Yeah, it really is. So what has pagan spirituality taught you? What have you learned that you didn't even think of beforehand, maybe? If anything. Other than the toilet paper spell.
Well, if I was going to be selfish about it, I'd say it validates that I chose to practice for myself.
Absolutely. Love it.
You know, I can support my wife and, you know, her spirituality and what she does. Why? Because my heart is open. You know, for paganism, mostly against organized religion, takes you back to the earth, back to nature, in tune with spirits and energies and things like that. And growing up here in the Southwest, you know, that's always kind of been in my life. The Native Americans of our area, you know, it's about nature, it's about seasons, it's about, you know, the cycles of life.
Yes.
And they have their great spirit. It's, you know, it's really based all around nature and respecting nature and the earth. So that's a commonality, I think. You know, I've grown up
understanding that, you know, there are different faiths out there, different religions, and that the way I choose, I don't call myself a pagan. At heart, I could say I'm Christian, but am I? If I'm willing
Again,
to
we go
accept-
back to the labels.
Yeah, the labels, because I don't go to church. I don't pray every day. I might ask the universe. Some people call God the universe, so maybe I'm asking God.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I would say I think it's just taught me that my way is the way for me. I can't say right way, but the right way for me.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
It just
that-
feels right.
It does. I don't do daily practice like you do. I mean, call me lazy, but you know, it's here. I don't feel like I need to go
You light the candles in your heart,
exactly
not on your altar.
on the altar. I'm not a physical practitioner. You know, if I want something, you know, I think, okay, well, I want this. How do I get this? Is it in my control?
Right.
You know, or do I need to ask a higher power? I think we talked a little bit about the pennies in the windowsill at one point. You know, I'm used to just going, gosh, I hope it rains. We need some rain. I want rain. And there's been
Snow.
2 days of rain. And in this
Snow.
case, it was snow.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, whenever I would like snow, granted not in the summer, but in the wintertime, I'd like some snow. And, you know, maybe it would snow. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it would try to snow. And one year, Joey's like, here, if you want snow, put pennies in the windowsill. So I put 10 pennies in every
You're
windowsill.
really oversimplifying how I teach you things, but yeah.
And I think we had some of the heaviest snow we had in a while. But is it because I put the pennies out there, or is it because it's truly what I wanted in my heart with snow?
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
But we got so much snow. And I was like, I'm from Missouri, so I do not like snow, ice, winter drizzle. Ugh. I hate all of that. And so I'm like, okay, well, you know, putting pennies in the windowsill, what does that do? Apparently a lot.
Yeah, so it's throwing toilet paper in the toilet
Right?
and flushing it.
Hey,
So,
if you believe it, it's going to work.
Correlation.
Yes, yes. Law of cause and effect. You know, it's a law of the universe. You know, it's the beaded. I can't remember what they're called. The little device with the beads, the marbles, and one goes this way, and it affects how the other one goes. What are those called?
Yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, there's
Somebody tell me in the comments what that is called. I would appreciate that.
yeah, the little knockers, because it pushes the
Yes.
energy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
energy goes through
Yes.
things and back out the rest.
Yes. So we can't have an action not have an effect. It always does. I mean, that's the way the universe works. Whether you believe it or not, that's the way the universe works. All right. Now for a fun question. Do you believe in demonic possession, evil, ghosts, spirits, angels, deities, fairies, devas,
Not for myself.
dragons?
Not for myself. I think I'll start with demonic
My cottage
possession.
spirit is laughing at you right now.
I'm sure. I'll start with demonic possession. Do I think people are possessed by demons? No. However, I believe they do. They believe it.
Okay.
The mind is a powerful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talk about belief systems and spirituality, you know, that belief is strong. If you believe that putting pennies in a windowsill causes it to snow, and it snows, you believe.
Right.
Same thing with demonic possession.
Especially if you repeat the act.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, the brain is very powerful. If you do something that you would normally not do yourself, you know, it could be the brain is rationalizing why you did that. That's not me on a normal basis. Why did I do that? And let's just say, well, you know, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink all the time. But I went on this bender and I don't know why. And I'm very Christian, they could believe, yeah, I was possessed. I had to be possessed by a demon because, let's just say, alcohol's sin. You believe that, alcoholism is a sinful indulgence, and you would never do those things. You would never. And so the brain rationalizes that you had to be possessed. It's not you. And if you go to the scientific community, they'd be like, dude, you're schizophrenic.
Right. They'd want to do a full evaluation.
Exactly. The brain is powerful. Back again.
Yes.
All right. I think we left off at demonic possession.
Yes. Inherent evil.
Yeah, inherent evil. I think I spoke on the demonic possession, the power of the brain. I mean, it explains the unexplainable.
Right.
Same angels. Somebody's witnesses a car accident and they missed it by a narrow margin. Maybe that person, felt something right before and like, oh my God, I felt my mom, and your mom's been gone. Yes, they probably felt something, but what was it?
Right.
We don't know. We didn't experience what they felt. Was it an angel that saved them? Do they believe it? Yes, they do. They believe it. So whether I believe it or not, or just say, hey, that just happened and you got lucky.
Right.
It's like, I can't tell you one way or the other.
Right.
You can call it a cop-out, but I'm not copping out. It's, if you believe it, then it can be true. If you dream it,
well,
you can create
and
it.
we can go with the other side of the coin. If you believe in angels, then do you believe in demons?
Yeah.
And, to pick and choose, what you believe in, but...
Or ghosts,
Or
the ghost
ghosts.
of my mom was sitting in the back seat. She protected me. It's possible if that's what
if they
you
believe it. I am not going to yuck on another person's yum.
No.
I'm not going to shit on their rainbow. If that's what they believe, then that's what they believe. I personally, I don't want to work with demons. I have no curiosity. I have nothing. But I do work with my own personal guardian angel. And, I have other beings that I pay attention to. But it's kind of ridiculous to say that I believe in one thing, but the exact opposite. No, I think there needs to be balance, right? I mean, if you believe in evil, you believe in good. If you believe in good, you believe in evil, because everything casts a shadow.
Well, not necessarily good and evil,
Right.
good and bad.
Good and bad.
Because evil is a whole other thing. This one probably gets a little controversial.
Yay!
She wants me to do the controversial. And thanks to
Anything's interesting.
Thanks
right?
to Netflix and Hulu and A&E and all the true crime, that I watch that she doesn't like. It gives me a lot of insight sometimes into why people do what they do.
It gives me anxiety.
Gives her anxiety.
Because I know people do what they do.
I feel educated. These are my education shows because I don't read that much anymore. But a lot of times with some of these true crimes, it's like that person is evil. They killed an entire family. Okay, was it evil? Well, maybe they were possessed by the devil. Some of the criminals claim they were possessed by the devil. Or perhaps they, were possessed by a demon. There's demon possession again.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people use the devil to explain all demons.
Right.
So
all evil.
Yeah.
And not necessarily true.
Right.
So a lot of the psychological evaluation, again, it's maybe for a moment of, I guess some people would say sanity, would say, okay, well, why did I do that terrible thing?
Right.
But consciously, they don't know why. And so their brain starts to take what it knows and try to make sense out of it. Okay, does that mean they're evil? No. They did a very horrible thing. They don't know why they did it. And Some will never explain why they did it because
Right.
they don't know. And others will be like, well, there has to be a reason. It has to be demonic possession. It has to be this. And some of it could be cult following. I've seen some of the
Sure.
stories where they're like, they got into this book of Satanism and taking it as gospel.
Right.
You know, it struck a chord with them and it caused them to do what society calls bad, horrific. You give it the adjective that you need to explain it. But it's really, really bad. And then there was a show I was telling my wife about, and not a plug for Netflix or anything.
I know. I feel like we should be sponsored.
I watch a lot of Netflix. I'm a binger, so I love binging TV. And one of the shows that gave me some great insight about some people that are on death row, it's called I Am a Killer. And these people are going away on death row, you know, because they killed somebody, or maybe they killed two people, or, you know, it was just horrific. And it was, you know, capital to the law that if that state has the death penalty, they got the death penalty. And probably a good half of the stories were about how people got off a death row and why. And some of it was for people that conducted robberies. Most of these individuals, interesting on the psychological aspect,
I can talk psych all day.
all day long.
All day.
You know, and they grew up in abysmal conditions. You know, you have somebody who killed somebody, capital murder, got on death row, but they grew up in a home environment where they were abused, sometimes sexually, sometimes physically, sometimes mentally. They grew up in conditions where they were not taught right from wrong. And we get into that nature versus nurture a lot. But if you grow up in a household where your dad's buying and selling drugs and maybe human trafficking, and your mom's doing drugs, and people get shot in your living room when you're a kid, it's in your environment. You're not taught that that's not the life or the environment that you have to grow up in. You know no difference. So you grow up at this is the norm.
Mm-hmm.
There's no right or wrong. From the outside, it's easy to say, yeah, that's wrong.
Right.
You should have never been in that environment. But if you have no other way and don't know any way and aren't taught another way, you going and robbing a store and killing somebody might not register right or wrong.
Right.
Because you're psychologically trained.
It's like stealing food to feed your children.
Yeah, you know, you're just not psychologically able to tell the difference between right and wrong. I know there's disorders out there that have that as well.
Right.
But did they do it planned, cold calculating to get, you know, capital?
Vengeance or, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of cases it's like there was no other answer for them because they didn't know any other answers. They didn't know any different. Did they have the resources to learn something different? Questionable.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
were they able to go to a library? Did they watch TV where there's something different outside what's in their life? What they know, what they understand, what they were programmed to believe is normal.
Right.
And,
Right.
So
If you're not taught that the stove can burn your hand, you're gonna burn your hand.
Right. And so a lot of these, the victim statements and the families of those that had lost a loved one to this person who killed them, I heard a lot of they're just evil. They're just evil. Evil incarnate. With no real understanding of why they chose to do what they did that caused you to lose your family. And it's not excuses. Don't get me wrong. It's not an excuse.
No.
They killed somebody. They went to jail. And guess what? While they were in jail, they got educated. They finally understood, yeah, I did something wrong.
Or they got the mental health that they needed.
Yeah, mental illness is a big one. Big one. So, again, are they evil? I don't think so. Evil is... and it is a word for not understanding.
I agree. We fear what we don't understand, and to slap that label of, oh, it's evil. So it just all gets piled to that. And that's just like, no, let's unpack it.
Yep.
There's more to it. There has to be more to it.
People aren't born evil. They are born a clean slate. and what they become is influenced a lot by their environment. A person isn't born racist.
Right.
You know,
totally
they
agree.
learn it from somebody or something.
Right.
So you can't have both.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
know, so I can't say that I believe in evil. I've never come across something intrinsically evil, and I've never seen anything intrinsically evil. We're like onions, ogres, like onions. We have layers. Like cakes. Cakes have layers.
At first I was like, what? No, okay, all right. Going back to, all right, gotcha. I'm following. Some days I just miss her train by like 5 minutes. And I'm like, wait a minute, where'd you go?
It was a Shrek thing.
I got you now. I got you now. Okay, and one final question. Do you believe that we are co-creators of our lives, or do you believe that everything is predetermined destiny?
Your words, I would say co-creators.
Explain.
Okay, how do you feel about that? The reason behind it is my life experience. Others may have a different experience in their own lives. Everybody's unique. And in my life, nothing ever just gets handed to you. You have to want something. You have to dream it. You have to understand how to get it. I wouldn't even necessarily call myself a firm believer of free will so much as we're a choose your own adventure book.
We are a choose your own. I love that. Okay, I'm gonna.
She's gonna take that. But the reason is that our lives are built on choices. You can even say that for the last question, those individuals I spoke about that committed capital murder. We have choices, and those choices will direct us in our lives. You could choose to pick a red car over a white car, and it might mean nothing other than the fact that you got to wax your car twice as often with a red or a black car than you do a white car because of the iron oxide.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, well, good, bad, or indifferent, if they'd have chosen a white car, they wouldn't have had to wax it so much. And that's a extremely, extremely simplistic example if you're going to choose your own adventure. But if you want something, you have a choice of how to get it.
Right. You can't just say, I'm too stupid to go to college. Okay.
But I want to be able to afford that nice red car.
Right.
Well, it's not going to happen unless you formulate a plan. Okay, this is what I want. How do I get it? Well, if we go to our capital murderers, they're going to go kill somebody and take it.
Right.
Where somebody else might say, you know, I need a better job. I'm going to go look for a better job that pays more.
Yes.
So that I can afford it.
Yes.
Again, a choice.
Well, and then it comes down to, like, I want to stay with this person. I don't have the money to leave this person. He beats me. I don't have a choice. I have to stay married to him. I'm too scared to move out. But you're choosing to stay. You're choosing to stay, and not to say that, you can't just pick up and leave. But if you truly wanted out of that situation, you can get out. There are ways to get out. There's ways to get help.
But again, we're back to, you have to recognize.
Yeah.
And once you recognize, it's fear. You got to get over fear.
Right.
Courage and bravery is taking action despite fear. And, that one's a pretty tight one because there's a lot of other psychological disorders that can come with somebody staying abusive. But again,
right.
The mind is a powerful, powerful thing. And once you have that understanding, I'm the man with the plan. My life was about planning. And some people aren't planners. Some people are doers. And, you want something, you have to understand what it is you want. You have to understand how to get it. And then you have to take action. You can't just say, okay, I want this, and not put in the work.
Right. I could recommend a book to you all day long, but unless you read it, you're not going to get the information.
Right. So again,
Gotta be
choices,
Yeah.
actions.
Mm-hmm.
Is that destiny? Is that fate? Maybe. I mean, it could be the long route versus the shortcut. We used to tease about
Right.
Mario Brothers. I'm the one that goes through all 8 levels. I'm going to build up all of my power, and I'm going to take everything I can so that when I get there, boom!
No cheat codes for you.
No cheat codes for me. Where, maybe your choices were like, well, I could have done it that way and gone to school for 10 years, but instead I went and interned and got it all through work experience versus school.
Mm-hmm.
Which one's harder? It depends on who you are. Do you
Right.
think it was easier to go to school and do it, or easier to just try to get into the workforce? Depends also on the availability of the resources in your communities. Who's to say? Maybe you have to move to get where you want to go or get what you want.
Yeah.
I was a single parent, and my experience was that the partner's not around, and so anything that I wanted for myself or my son, I went and got myself. And the first thing I did was like, okay, well, I live in a community where there's not a lot of opportunity, but there is school.
Mm-hmm.
So by going to school, I got opportunity. I went and got my associates. I had an internship that didn't turn into a job. Okay, well, that blowed. What do I got to do next? Okay, well, that didn't work out. There's not a whole lot still. I'm gonna keep going to school. I'm gonna go for my bachelor's. And so I started going to school for my bachelor's, and 2 years in, another internship opportunity presented itself, and I got it. And for the last 15 years, I've been in a office career, where I've done federal contracting, and living where we do, with the military base. There was a lot of federal contracting opportunities, and I wouldn't have gotten it if I hadn't continued to go to school. I could have taken my associates and probably found something else in that workforce, but it hadn't presented itself, and I didn't think it was quite enough, where somebody else might have and could have jumped into a career a couple of years earlier and not had any student debt. So choices.
Right.
It's
right.
choices and what opportunities you're presented with. They always say door number 1 or door number 2.
Right.
One not necessarily going to be better than the other. But I bet you if I had stayed with just my associate, I still would have got into federal contracting, but it might have been different.
Right. You might not be as comfortable.
I mean, it's harder and harder as the years have gone by for people to get employment without education. Sometimes even the simplest jobs that didn't need it are now, you at least need high school buddy.
Right.
So it's a choice.
Choice. Yeah, choices.
It's a choice that I made that worked out, and I worked hard and achieved it. I bought a house being a single parent. I bought cars. I mean, things really turned out well. There were sacrifices, but
Sure.
even with any choice we make, there's going to be sacrifice.
Right. It's
know,
it's the law of cause and effect again.
Maybe my sacrifice, if I'd have just went with my associate, would have been less opportunities in the future. I don't know.
Maybe you wouldn't have been able to work from home like you do now.
Right.
I mean, that's a luxury that not everybody has.
Right. Maybe it would have come full circle and I'd gotten it anyway. We don't know. But if you do know, which I don't think any of us knows, because we make one choice, we see the one choice. It's very rare that it's like, okay, I took this choice and it didn't work. I'm going to go back and choose the other direction. And that's why I like to say choose your own adventure book, because sometimes you choose to go one way and it's the end of the story for you. So you go back a few pages, I'm going to go the other way and see what happens.
I think that was my experience when I tried to go back to college. I felt defeated, and I felt like I was up against a wall. And, it was so hard. It was so hard for me. That I ended up finding another way around, and
looking for an alternative schooling.
And the University of Metaphysics, Sedona, is what I found, and it was self-study, self-paced, and cheap. And I mean, it did cost some money, but comparatively way cheaper than a university, recognized, accredited. But to get your education through religion, I don't think is a bad way to go. I think it's just a different way to go. I mean, I didn't have to take algebra. I didn't have to take, English and math and all this stuff. And I just want to study what I'm going to use in my career. I very focused study. In fact, I rarely read for pleasure, which is kind of my downside there a little bit.
But so I mean, if somebody believes in fate, that this is what the world is, I feel like it's blocking.
Sure.
I have family members that are like, my world sucks. So narcissistic that they're nothing but victims in life, and they never gone anywhere, never done anything, and their life is hard every single day. Well, they choose to stay that way.
They feed it.
They really do, because they complain all day and don't do anything to change it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you don't have a job, you can't make money, and you live on welfare all the time, and you're not willing to go out and get your GED, even though you have all this support.
Right.
There's federal aid out there, there's all these resources, and having taken advantage of those resources for myself, I'm willing to share it. Hey, go do this, go do that, go do that.
Right.
But like you said, you can give somebody a book, but if they don't read it, they don't learn anything.
Yeah.
And so, again, don't make your own fate suck because you think
you're not bound by it.
Yeah, you're not bound by it.
Mm-hmm.
I like Terminator 2. We make, the only fate we make is for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And so that's my belief.
Yeah.
I believe that we get to direct our own lives with the choices we make. And being an analytic mind myself, and that perpetual planner that drives her crazy, if I want something, the first thing I do, how do I get it? And plan it out. Okay, well, I've got to have this much money. Okay, what do I need to do? Okay, I'm going to cut back on my pedicures so that we can make this happen. We brought her kids over.
My feet will suffer.
My feet will suffer so that my wife can have her kids on Christmas. So it's about sacrificing. I sacrificed.
You pay the coin.
Yes, we sacrificed our feet. That paraffin wax, us spoiled people that we are, so that money could go for something.
We live in the desert. We have terribly dry feet. Not saying you have. I mean, if you live here in Arizona, you have to get pedicures. But gosh, it helps.
Yeah.
Gosh, it helps.
So you got to be willing to sacrifice whatever it is. If it's your time to get a second job so you can buy that red car, that's your choice. Fate's not going to drop that car in your lap. You've got to take control of your own
You can't
destiny.
just do a job spell and then sit on the couch.
Yeah, you got to go.
It don't work that way.
It doesn't make sense to me. So whatever your belief, whether it's fate or destiny, just make sure that fate, that destiny is your choice.
Well said. Well said. I don't think I have any other questions. Would you like to give maybe a final statement to my followers, my audience? There, anything that you want to say to promote me? I mean, I'm just kidding. But any last words, I guess.
Hey, leave some comments. I mean, a lot of the stuff we discussed, there are a lot of worldviews.
Yeah, tell me what you think.
Views.
Don't be afraid. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
Don't be afraid. Ask some extra questions. We'll do a part 2 and answer your questions. I mean, any excuse to get back on the channel and provide some information. And a lot of these topics are pretty deep, especially if you are a psychology major, which I am not. Maybe you've got insight, maybe you have knowledge, maybe you want to throw us a question to make us think,
For sure.
So
hit us.
Hopefully I haven't offended anybody. That's
freedom of speech.
That's where I sit.
We get to say what we want.
It's our lives. We get to choose ourselves, our spirituality, our destiny, where we go. We are ultimately, the ones in power to make change, whether it's with ourselves or with the rest of the world. So there's my parting
Wonderful.
words.
Thank you so much for coming in the cottage that you bought and talk about these controversial issues, because I think it's important to see, the different sides of the coin. And I really like the ideals that you bring to the table. And I appreciate you taking the time to do this, taking time from binging the true crime that you're going to go right back inside and turn on.
Or 80s videos.
Or 80s videos, yes. So thank you guys so much for sticking with us. If you watched till the end, thank you so much. Leave some questions in the comments, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.